My name is Rhys. I'm joined today with Jack. We're going to be talking about the weekly monster, and we're going to be talking as well about our season-long Fanteam teams. Jack, how are we doing today, bud?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, really good. I had quite a lot of wine actually last night with the missus, and so it's been a bit of a hungover morning, to be honest with you. But yeah,
Yeah,
guys, you don't want
I
to hear
know
about
that
this, do you?
feeling
You
from
want to hear
last
about
week.
Ultimate Fan, right? So Ultimate Fan are sponsoring the video today, and we're really happy to have them as always. It's a mixture between pack openings and fantasy football, okay? So you can get it on your phone. The app is really, really cool. I'll just bring it up for you now so you can see. It's a really handy little app. It's really fun to play. I'm still getting used to it, and I'll bring you my evolution in Ultimate Fan as we go along throughout the weeks. But it's free to play. You can win. I think it's a £300,000 prize pool, although I usually have that information up to the left of me, and I might have got that wrong. But you can pay then for additional players, etc., or additional packs. So it is 18 plus. Please gamble aware. Let us know if you have any luck with Ultimate Fan. We'd love to hear from you. First up then, Jack, today we're going to be looking at the fixtures for the Gameweek 7 weekly monster, and we'll show the audience your team as well after we've gone through the fixtures. My team is pretty much the same as in the weekly video, so if you want to see that, go and check out the video. I might make some substitutions because I believe we get the team sheets before the deadline. It looks like the deadline's 3 o'clock here for the weekly monster. Yep. The first fixture, Jack, that comes up is Wolves Newcastle. What are we thinking there, bud?
I think Wolves are just starting to find their rhythm a bit, so I'm going to go for a Wolves win there myself. The Wolves are at home as well, so yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Wolves win. Newcastle been dire, apart from Saint Maximin.
He's such a good player. I think we speak about him every week, I think. But
yeah, we do.
Yeah, I do really like Saint Maximin. Wolves at home, Molineux. It's a tough place to go, right? Yeah, I can get behind that, no problem at all.
They just seem to me they're just finding their rhythm at the minute, Wolves.
So. I think so. And that system they're playing is pretty cool with the five at the back, and you've got Marçal on one side and Semedo on the other. Jimenez got his goal the other week. Everyone very, very pleased with Jimenez's goal. Do you think he can keep it up? Do you think he's back now? I know he fractured his skull, I think, last year, didn't he, Jack? And obviously he's been out for a long time. What's your views on Jimenez for this week in the Monster?
Yeah, I think he gets another goal this week. I think he's going to be good going forward. And I think the striker always just needs to find that first goal, especially after coming back off an injury like he did. So, yeah, I like him this week. I think he gets a goal, and Wolves win comfortably 2-0. I've not been impressed with what I've seen from Newcastle outside of St Maximin all season.
Confidence is key for strikers. I think that is definitely something we need to bear in mind. Burnley against Norwich next. We're talking about strikers. Is Chris Wood someone who would come on your radar, or maybe even Timo Pukki?
Chris Wood, definitely. He seems to be found a bit of form. I favour Burnley in this game. Just Norwich, I don't know. They're just, to me, haven't learnt their lessons from the last time they come up. It seems to me they've just gone backwards in the way the way they approach the Premier League. And yeah, I quite comfortably fancy Burnley to win here, 1 or 2-0, and Chris Wood to get a goal. I'm off Timo Pukki.
You're off, are you?
Yeah, off.
Damn, I like him as an option, but I've heard rumours about maybe he'll get dropped for a game because he hasn't been banging them in. But yeah, that's the rumours I've heard. Guys in the chat as well. I mean, FPL Graphics, if you are watching, let me know if there's any team news coming through, because I've still got one transfer to make on my official FPL team. I haven't done it yet. I got 2 transfers and I need to make it. So Joe, I know you watch and I know you're all over Twitter. Let me know in the chat, bro. Go on, Jack. What were you going to say?
As you say, I mean, Pukki, like we were just mentioning, strikers need to score to gain confidence. So if he finds a goal today, then he might be an option going forward. But for now, I'm very much off of him.
Jack, if you don't mind me saying, you look a little bit like Timo Pukki. I've never noticed this before until until today. You've got some Pukki vibes going on there. Have you ever had that before?
I'll take that. I wish I had his money.
Pookie vibes. Okay, next, this is the big one. We'll probably spend about 10 minutes talking about this one, Jack, because I got my eyes on one of these Chelsea defenders. Chelsea against Southampton. I know you watched Chelsea midweek, didn't you? What did you take away from that midweek game?
I thought Chelsea were excellent for 40, 50 minutes of that game and controlled the game. Just didn't create anything. It was very much like I mean, we got bossed off the park last week by Man City. I watched that game as well, and I don't know. Chelsea always go through a spell at some point in the season every year where they'll lose points, drop points for 4 or 5 weeks, and it normally results in the manager getting sacked. Obviously, I don't want that to happen because I'm a massive fan of Thomas Tuchel, but there's a blueprint there with Chelsea. It always happens. I don't know what it is. It normally comes about November. There is a saying just between Chelsea fans: remember, we are rubbish in November. Basically, it just in midweek we looked great for 50, 60 minutes of that game, but we just didn't create any chances. I think they'll win today against Southampton. I think that's a massive get right game, but they were poor in the last 2 games for me.
So I've got my eye on Alonso for my transfer in the season-long FPL game. I've got my eye on basically anyone in that defence who's going to play. The big question on a lot of people's minds is Alonso, Chilwell, who's going to play. Now, I looked at some of the minutes yesterday on my Fantasy Premier League live stream I did on my channel, and Chilwell hasn't played a single minute in the league yet, right? But he came on for 45 minutes in midweek, didn't he?
Yeah, he came on at half time in midweek. There was a stat out. I haven't actually got that stat in my head, but I think it was like covering ground or something in midweek. But he was like the most out of any Chelsea defender all season with Chilwell. So I'm a little bit wary of Alonso going forward. I mean, Alonso has these spells where for sort of 8 or 10 games he can be world class, and then he goes back to being Alonso, if you get what I mean, after that. So it's Ben Chilwell has done nothing wrong. I don't think he's had a fallout with the manager or anything. I just think Alonso's been the better player this season. But maybe what we saw within 45 minutes in Turin from Chilwell, we're seeing a changing of the guard going forward. So I'm very wary of Alonso.
Now that has spooked me because we've seen a couple of predicted lineups, or I've seen a couple of predicted lineups in the Twitter sphere and stuff from reputable places like The Guardian and stuff like that have Chilwell starting, right? And of course it's all speculation, but yeah, it's like he's speaking now to yourself, a big Chelsea fan, reading things like that in The Guardian where they're predicting Chilwell to start. Even Neil over on Fantasy Football Scout, who's good at his predictions on that website, I think he's got Chilwell to start as well. So
he looked good for 45 minutes. He looked very good in Turin. And like I say, he's done nothing wrong. It's just Alonso's been better. But Alonso does have these spells where he's good for 8 or 10 games a season, and then he just peters off for some reason.
Interesting. Let's talk about the rest of the back line then. You got Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Christensen, and obviously Rhys James is injured now. So those are probably, those are the ones that other people will be looking to, and there's been huge transfer activity, especially in the official FPL game, towards those players this week. Yeah. Listen, we're talking about the Monster here, and Chelsea players are so expensive in the Monster. I think I've got 3. I think I put 3 of them into my team for the Monster, and we will see the lineup before the deadline, if that makes sense, for the Monster here. But in terms of the season long, what I'm trying to say is, who should I buy, right? I'm selling Trent in the next 20 minutes, probably, and I was going to buy Alonso. I don't think I'm going to anymore. Should I go Azpilicueta? I don't want to go Rudiger. I think Azpilicueta offers a little more going forward if he plays in that right wing-back role, for example. Or do I just save a bit of cash and go for Christensen? But what would you advise?
Well, you know my feelings with defenders in any sort of fantasy format. I like the wingers. I like the people that are going to bomb forward, get the assists, put the balls, get the crosses into the box, and Azpilicueta does that for you. Christensen and Rudiger might pop up for the odd goal every now and then. But I mean, Rudiger's got booking in him. At any point in any game, because he's a bit of a thug back there sometimes. But so yeah, it's Aspilicueta for me.
Interesting. I think that might sway my decision, to be honest with you, because I that aligns with the way that I think about defenders as well. In fantasy, you want those attacking, especially. I don't want to pay 5.8 million for like a centre back. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe Diaz is different at Man City, but Rudiger at Chelsea, I don't see it. Okay, so Mount and Havertz. I think I put Havertz into my weekly monster team. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to play yet, but if he does play, it could be a great shout, right?
Yeah, he offers so much going forward. He was poor in midweek, actually.
Was he?
Him and Ziyech were very poor, but he offers so much going forward. I don't know what's up with him at the minute. Another player seems to be lacking a little bit of confidence, maybe. But I like Havertz. Again, just offers so much in assists, goals, and for me, it's a great option.
Werner as well. I just thought Werner might play. Do you reckon?
But yeah, I've seen Werner so many times, and it's like the guy needs 20 chances to score per game. He's incredibly. He's brilliant to watch at times, but he's incredibly frustrating to watch as well.
I can imagine all those misses just come to my head from last season, this far out from the goal and over the bar.
And it normally comes back to bite you as well. Like, he'll miss 3 or 4 clear-cut chances in a game, and then you end up losing the game 1-0. So. Okay,
so let's move on then from Chelsea, Southampton, which I think we both agree is going to be a strong Chelsea victory.
Yeah, it's a massive get-right game for Chelsea. That bad bit of form that I said that Chelsea go through hasn't arrived just yet.
Oh, watch out, folks. Okay, Leeds against Watford. This game's surely got tons of goals in it. Cue the 0-0, obviously, but Leeds defence leaky. If you look at expected data, one of the worst in the league, and I'm sure Watford aren't that far behind, although I can't remember off the top of my head. What would you predict in this game, Jack?
I think Leeds win, but I'm with you. I think there's going to be a ton of goals in it. I think it's going to be like a 3-2 win or something like that. Both these teams just leak goals for fun. It'd be a great game to watch, but like you say, cue the 0-0 now. I know you just said that.
Cue the 0-0, yeah. Rafinha is just a great player, so I think he's really expensive in that monster this week, and I was surprised by how expensive he was. I'm not sure if I went for him. I can't remember if I went for him, to be honest with you. Or like I say, the video is available.
I got Sarr into mine from Watford, who I like this week.
Sarr's, yeah, definitely against Leeds, 100%. I think I've got him across all my fantasy games, to be honest, this week. So yeah, I agree with that. Watford. The striking positions for Watford for me don't seem that nailed down apart from Sarr. You've got Josh King now who's playing centre forward, and Dennis, I think, is playing the left. They play the kind of front three. But I don't know, if I was owning one of those players, I wouldn't be confident week in, week out that they played. But I think they've played every game so far this season, apart from Josh King, who came in a little bit later, maybe after the first 2. Yeah. Leeds, Bamford's out, so maybe that could be an option to go for someone like Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Tyler Roberts, maybe, the Welsh guy. Dan James, I know Jack had a little dance with the Dan James last week.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I think I saw him came off early, guys, so just don't forget, listen to the tips that you get on this website.
I did have Mikel Antonio, though. So, last week.
Did I have him? I can't remember if I had him or
not. No, you didn't. Because I remember messaging you on my stag do. It was like Mikel Antonio with a little fire emoji.
So. Oh, yeah, I didn't. Did you cash in last week? I didn't cash.
No, I didn't cash. But I wasn't too far off, but yeah, no, I just missed out last week, unfortunately. Dan James going off probably didn't help.
That's the one. That was the one. You should have listened to me. Although my team didn't do very good. I don't know. We seemed to get quite a lot of points, but we didn't get any money out of it. So We got FPL Scooped in the chat saying, morning chaps. When are the next price rises for the season along game? I'm not. The price rises in Fanteam traditionally weren't very transparent, were they? I know they changed it a little bit this season to kind of give players a bit more insight into where and when they happen. I would advise FPL Scoop to go and give us a follow on Twitter if you don't follow us already. We do tweet out price changes and ownership stats quite regularly. And also follow the obviously official Fanteam Twitter site as well. But yeah, I can't really answer that conclusively for you, Jack. Have you got any inside knowledge on that?
No, I haven't actually. It's just, like you say, it's not very transparent at the minute, so I'm not entirely sure myself.
The next fixture we got is Brighton Arsenal. This looks like a 0-0 to me, and I don't know. It's not the game which I would want to watch. It doesn't look exciting, even though Arsenal like pummeled Tottenham 3-1 the other day. What do you think?
Brighton have been in form, but I watched them. When they played Monday night against Crystal Palace, didn't they? And I was very impressed with Crystal Palace actually in that game. Brighton stole it at the death and got the draw, obviously. But I know a few Crystal Palace fans, and I know that hurt a lot because that's a massive rivalry for them. But Brighton at home in this game, you say?
Brighton at home against Arsenal, yeah.
I'm going to go with Brighton win.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd back you on that. Brighton are a decent team. They're like the dark horse, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they'll win the game 1-0. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals in this game. I'm very impressed with what I've seen from Graham Potter as well. I know he's linked heavily with the Tottenham job at the minute again. So he's next in line for a big job in the Premier League.
He's such a good
Sorry,
manager,
Brighton. I'm not saying you're not a big club, Brighton.
Imagine, a thought just came into my head then. Imagine Graham Potter going to Man United. You think that could happen?
Well, I think Ole was very lucky in the week that Cristiano stepped up in the 95th minute or whatever it was. But Ole, I have a lot of views on Solskjaer. I don't think he's the right man for that job. I think he was the right man at the time. I think he steadied the ship, but I don't think Man United are going to win anything under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, I've got similar views. I'm a Man United fan, and I'm not like Ollie out. I just think he's out of his depth, and I'd love him to prove me wrong, and because he's a legend of the club. But I think the writing's on the wall, I think, for him. But again, I'd love him to prove me wrong. Jong in the chat is asking about Fanteam Focus. He says the Discord's gone a bit quiet, and there's a couple of different contributors, etc. A couple of people have moved on to different things to answer your question. And the Discord, I didn't realise it was that quiet. Guys, if you're watching, get that Discord popping off, right? Just get some chats in there, because Jong is missing out.
Dropping some articles in myself in there, actually, off my own website. But
there we are. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question, Jong. Just a couple of movements in the old Fanteam Focus world. Next up, Spurs against Aston Villa. Okay, so why have Spurs been so bad, Jack? And let me ask you that. What do you think?
I don't really know what's gone on there. I mean, they got that big win in midweek, didn't they? I don't even know what that cup's called. It's the Europa B League. So they got the bit. I think they won 5-1 in that. I couldn't even tell you the team that they were playing, but it's just, I don't know. They were very good. For the first 3 games of the season? Very good defensively. Wasn't conceding any goals. Obviously beat Man City on the opening day of the season as well, but I don't really know what's gone wrong. I don't know if they've lost confidence in the manager, it seems that way. There's already rumblings that his head's on the chopping block, so to speak. And yeah, I don't really know what's gone wrong. I've just realised what I've done in my monster team as well with the goalie, so I might change that later before we kick off.
Well, we'll see that in a bit, and I'm sure I'll pick that out and as a bit of feedback for you. The pressure seems on him straight away, doesn't it, Nuno? That win against Man City, straight away it was like, oh, something could happen here. And then since that, it's like, we don't really see much confidence from the team, from the media, from the fans behind Nuno. And it looks like he's under a lot of pressure to win this game to me as an outsider. I like Aston Villa. I like there's something I like about, especially from a fantasy perspective, these formations, the 5 at the back formations where they have high wing backs, right? So Matty Cash and I keep getting the left back names wrong. It's not Taylor, is it? Target. Matty Cash and Target are definitely options going forward for anyone who's looking to invest in the monster against Tottenham, maybe, but especially in the season-long games. Matty Cash, someone who I've got my eye on in particular. Might even come in for Trent in the next 30 minutes on my FPL team because I've got to make some kind of move. Might be Aspilicueta, might be Matty Cash. Those are the 2 I'm thinking about now. Maybe even Alonso. I got 2 free transfers, Jack, right? So I might just do Alonso with 1 and then leave it. And then next week I'll have 2 again. So if it goes wrong, I can just fix the mistake, right?
Yeah, you could put Chilwell in, I suppose.
Chilly.
You could do. But back to Aston Villa, do you not think they're still trying to find their feet without Grealish as well?
Yeah, 100%. A huge miss, isn't it, for them? And the change of formation as well these are professional footballers, but it can't be like easy to lose your talisman, change the formation that you're playing, bring like 2 or 3 very good players in, like Leon Bailey and Buendia and Danny Ings, and like keep the kind of continuity and rhythm going. And so I think that's always going to happen. And but they've got good players. I think they've got good players. Martinez in goal. But like you say, they're finding their feet. That rhythm, I think, will come. It'll take games. It'll take playing with each other and stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I think Tottenham win that game.
I think Tottenham win this game too.
Yeah.
I actually think they win it quite heavily, to be honest with you.
I fancy them 2-0 in that game.
We got ITZ Theo in the chat saying Ronaldo or Lukaku, and he's typed it about 10 times. So we better answer it because it sounds quite urgent. Ronaldo or Lukaku. This week, Lukaku. And for the coming fixtures, if you're talking season long, Lukaku, right? But for me, it doesn't mean you have to sell Ronaldo. Maybe in your team structure, it means you have to sell Ronaldo. And for me, if you have to sell Ronaldo to get Lukaku, maybe it's worth it for the fixtures coming up. But try and get both of them in, I would. Jack, what do you think?
Yes, try and get both in, but if you can't, it's Lukaku for me. Chelsea have just gone. Chelsea had a hard start to the season as well, so now they're coming into a bit of a nicer schedule going forward. So Lukaku's just, I don't know what it is with him. He seems to struggle against the bigger teams to score. So hopefully he starts banging in some goals, gains a bit of confidence during this next sort of schedule that Chelsea have got.
Jong in the chat says thanks for the answers, but apart from calling me John, I did try and call you Jong, but it probably just sounds very similar, John and Jong, right? So apologies if I got you, if you think that I've got your name wrong, but I actually didn't. HSN, I sound like Alan Partridge sometimes, don't I? HSN123 says, hi, shall I get Sarr in for Jota this week? If not, who shall I replace Jota with? I think Sarr in for Jota is a bit too short term. I think you're chasing points from last week and the week before. He's got one very good fixture this week, sure, against Leeds, but then he's got Liverpool, and then I think the fixtures turn. I think there are a lot of other places you can go from Jota, which you could consider. I don't know what the rest of your team is looking like, so maybe you haven't got Rafinha or something like that. So yeah, I think for 1 week it's perfect. I think longer term it may be a bit of an issue. What do you think, John?
I love it. I love it for this week. Doing that, I'm the same as you. Longer term, not so much there with that, but for this week, I'm all over that Leeds Watford game.
Yeah, I definitely like monster wise, and yeah, if you're looking short term for FPL, it could get you a lot of points.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, just finishing my point about the Spurs game. You said you think Spurs win this game. I agree. I was gonna say sometimes the cream just rises to the top, right? If you got good players like Kane and Son in your team, eventually you're going to batter a team, right, aren't you? And Aston Villa potentially could be on the end of one of these batterings. But yeah, that's probably not a likely result. It's just a bit of a gut feeling more than anything. West Ham against Brentford. This sounds like it could be some kind of a London derby. Are you a London boy, Jack?
Well, yeah, I am. I'm a London boy myself, so this is going to be a nice game. It's another game that could see a couple of goals in for both sides.
Ivan Toney, Antonio, some big players in this game.
Some massive players in this game. I love Antonio. I think he's going to be very popular again this week. And yeah, I wouldn't be against putting Tony in. I think I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Weird one, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this game.
Do you know what? I could get behind that, yeah. And apologies if you see me looking on my phone here. Like I said, I've got that urgent transfer to make, so just checking on Twitter. I could definitely get behind that result. Definitely 2-2. Maybe 2-1 West Ham. Maybe 2-1 West Ham, I'll go. Okay, so Crystal Palace, Leicester. Crystal Palace, I think, have surprised some people with the way they're playing football and the fact that they're not getting absolutely battered, which I kind of predicted them to be getting at the start of the season.
Yep.
But Leicester have also surprised people by getting absolutely battered, right? That leaves me with a lot of question marks with this game. What do you think is going to happen?
I think Crystal Palace win. I've been very impressed with Crystal Palace over the last few weeks. I was the same as you. I wasn't convinced with Patrick Vieira. I didn't think that was the right choice, but I kind of like what he's doing there now. And I think I mentioned it. It might have been last week that there's been a massive turnaround of players there at Crystal Palace, and that takes some getting used to. So even when they got beat 3-0 against Liverpool a few weeks back, they wasn't bad in that game. Just they come up against a better team, but Leicester have been poor this season, and yeah, I fancy Palace to win it.
We got Jack's daughter making an appearance there with a bag of crisps both on it.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry, we're all very chilled out and informal over here. We've got MSJ there in the chat saying Trent and Shaw out for Aspie and Rudiger, or just sell Trent and keep Shaw and bring in Jimenez for Bamford. It's a bit of a tricky one because you've said at the end there, just sell Trent and keep Shaw and bring in... So you're going to use the 2 free transfers anyway. I would keep Bamford. If you can field 11 players this week with keeping Bamford, I would keep him because his fixtures going forward are just so good. And before his injury that was told about this week, I was looking at bringing him in personally with my 2 free transfers. Keep Shaw, looks like he's going to play to me. He was in training, although he was flagged, probably still is flagged. Sell Trent, yeah. So for me, I'd just sell Trent for probably Aspilicueta, but I'm in that same boat that I still haven't made that mind up myself. Aspilicueta, Rudiger, Matty Cash, Alonso, Chilwell, all on my list, and I got to make that call probably in 10 minutes. Jack, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would sell Trent for Aspie, and I'm similar to you. I'd probably just keep Bamford there. As long as you can field the 11, then keep Bamford for another week and a nicer schedule going forward.
God, you're so impatient, MSJ, the question marks at the end. We've answered it for you now, so hopefully you've smashed a like on the video and subscribe, especially if you're new. Liverpool against Man City is the last one on the Monster today. Big game.
What a game.
Huge game. I think it's going to be tight, but these are kind of teams... These two teams don't really change the way they play, do they, Jack?
No, they don't. Did you watch Man City in midweek against PSG?
No, I saw the Man City-Chelsea game, though, in the league, but I didn't see any midweek games, no. PSG won, right?
It was... Yeah, PSG won 2-0. It was weird because Man City were... It's hard for me to say. They were dominant against Chelsea, just kept the ball, and they were brilliant against Chelsea. Deserved to win the game. But against PSG just totally outplayed them in that game, and I was so impressed with what I saw from PSG in that game. But it was weird. I'm still not convinced with this. I mean, I know they're getting the job done. I know they beat Chelsea. I'm still not convinced with the false 9. I still think Manchester City needed, for me, rather than signing Jack Grealish, they needed to sign Harry Kane at the time. But they went that route, and I don't know. I fancy Liverpool to beat them at home.
That's an excellent point, actually. I think I agree with that. They needed a striker more than they needed another like inside forward, right? They got so many of those, and now they got Jesus as well, who wants to play that position.
Yep.
They got literally no striker. Especially if you argue that Jesus is now a winger, inside forward, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Who is a striker? Torres? Torres isn't. He's not really a striker, is he?
He's not really a striker. No. I mean, we've seen it in the past with teams trying to use that. I mean, Spain are well known for trying to do it, use that false nine. Obviously, not so much now because they've got Morata, but they've tried to do it in the past. It just, for me, it just never seems to work. I don't think it's a long-term solution. I still think Manchester City need to sign a striker in January now, but to be dominant and compete on all fronts. But yeah, I fancy Liverpool in this game. Liverpool, I've been very impressed with what I've seen by them this season, and with Van Dijk in their team, they're just so much of a better team.
So I've got your monster team up on the screen now, Jack. If you want to talk us through it, what are your hopes? What are your fears? I'm just going to have a little check on Twitter for some team news. So the deadline's in 15 minutes, folks.
Well, I love Antonio and Lukaku. I think they both score this week, as we mentioned earlier. I love Mo Salah. If Liverpool are going to win that game, like I think Mo Salah is going to be the key to the victory for them. As we mentioned, St. Maximum earlier, he's a star for Newcastle in a poor team.
Yeah.
Son is just, for me, still too cheap, and being able to play him in midfield and what he can offer is just, especially with goals wise, is fantastic for Tottenham. Obviously, we mentioned Sarr earlier. I'm all over that game. Maybe I should have probably had a Leeds player in this team as well. I might change something in it. I'm definitely going to change the goalie. I used Rhys a couple of weeks ago against Palace, and it burned me like anything in that game. So I'm going to probably change the goalie. Not too sure to who as of yet. As I mentioned with my defenders, I just like my defenders that either take free kicks, which I get with Cresswell, cross the ball in. I'm not a big centre back guy like back there, and I love Gallagher for Palace as well. He's just been a star for them this season so far. Yeah.
Your front two, Antonio and Lukaku. Can't say much about those, right?
No, as I say, I expect both to score today. Antonio, like we mentioned, I fancy a couple of goals in the West Ham Brentford game. Lukaku needs to find the net, I feel, just to get a bit more confidence back. It's not that he's been bad. I just think he needs to get a goal just to get into a rhythm going forward again. And I think Southampton offered a great chance for that today.
So I'm scrolling through Twitter here. I can't find anything that is helping me make this Trent Alexander-Arnold to who decision. So the drama continues. 13 minutes to go. For me, looking at this team, Jack, if I had to criticise it, the goalkeeper, let me just double check Tottenham's fixture here. Aston Villa. I don't mind that. I don't mind that as much as maybe you do. Cresswell, I like. Is that Saiss in goal in the centre back there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Saiss and Cancelo. I don't mind that. I would maybe look at a way to move Saiss up to one of the fullbacks, so Semedo and / Marçal.
Okay.
Maybe
I'll do that
Semedo
by
because
getting
there's
cheaper.
a bit of a question. Go on, say again.
I was going to say, maybe I'll do that by getting cheaper at goalkeeper, take the Rhys out, get cheaper at goalkeeper, and then remove Saiss and put Semedo in.
Yeah, potentially.
Like
yeah, I think he'd offer a little bit. Although historically, Saiss has done well attackingly, and sometimes he has come in at left wing back. I think Semedo would be just a little bit more likely to get you attacking returns. Son, Salah, St. Maximin's, I love that midfield. And I love the strikers. That would probably be the only bit of criticism if I had to criticise it, but it's a good team. I like it.
Well, I'm going to take your advice this week, because if I'd done it last week, I would have cashed. So.
Fingers crossed. Come on, Rhys's advice. It doesn't normally work out well. Okay, so we got my season long next, right? So if you want to see my monster, check out the video I did midweek. It's exactly the same as that as it stands. I may make some changes. when the team news comes out. So this is my season long now. I just need to get my screen a bit bigger because I can't read these guys' names. So I got Sanchez, Marçal and Semedo, who I spoke about just now in the Monster, Duffy, Salazar, Mount, Jota and Alan makes an appearance again in centre midfield for me. Lukaku and Ronaldo up front. I've got one free transfer. I'm going to try and roll it onto next week because I like the sound of having 2 free transfers each week, but then just continuing to use one, if you know what I mean. And then if you really need to, then I can use 2. The concerns I have about this team, Alan is a bit weak to have in my starting lineup, and it leaves me with no bench if Marçal maybe doesn't start or something like that. It leaves me with no points coming off the bench, for example. Jota is someone I'd probably look to move on if I did use my free transfer in the next 13 minutes, because he plays City, and I think that money could be spent well elsewhere. Do you think I'm crazy to go in this kind of bear, Jack, into this week when I've got 1 free transfer, or do you think it's all right?
I don't think it's too bad. I like your philosophy, trying to roll over the free transfer. My concern is the same as yours with Alan and what he can offer. That would be the only thing I would change if I was to use the free transfer, but I don't think you're wrong for doing what you're doing this week.
Yeah, Trent and James, that's the thing. I don't really want to sell them. Again, the same as my official FPL team, Trent would probably be the one who would make way because his fixtures aren't as good as James is going forward. They both seem to have similar timeframes on their injury, from what I can tell. So they'll both be back soon. I think they're both first team players. But yeah, Trent looks like his fixtures just look a little bit more difficult. But I want them both, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do, I think. But I do agree with your diagnosis. It's the same as what I think. Alan is the weak point. But the only way I can change that is by upgrading someone else, I think. Do you know what I mean? Because I could move Alan across to another 4.5, but I'll still have the same problem, you know? So moving Jota... No, sorry, actually moving James or Trent would probably be the only way I could do it. Do you agree?
Yep, agreed.
Okay, so maybe I'll do that if I have time now in the next... I've got 9 minutes now. So, Jack, the floor is yours. This is your season long. What are your hopes and fears?
Kasper Schmeichel's a fear. Leicester have been poor. So... I feel I've got Sanchez on the bench for me. So if I don't think Arsenal score, maybe I could bring Sanchez in today. Obviously, I've got Alonso on the bench there as well. I'm not confident with Alonso going forward. Again, my midfield is similar to my Monster, except I've got Gray in there for Everton, who I just love. I mentioned him last week. And Antonio and Ronaldo. I've got no free transfers because I've used all mine up this week. I bought in Antonio, and who else did I bring in this week? I bought in Gallagher into this team. So I've got no free transfers. Anything you would change?
For maybe this team,
Ben White, maybe.
For this team, I think bringing Gallagher in was a good move. He's someone who I like as well.
Yeah,
I like your defence. Saiss again. Is there something you're not telling me about Saiss? Is there a soft spot you got for him for some particular reason? Or
it's just cheap. It's just cheap, and I need to get cheap at that position.
That's fine. I think that's not that makes sense. Schmeichel, good. I think Schmeichel's a really good goalkeeping option in Fanteam, especially now with Leicester probably facing quite a lot of shots, but also with quite a high chance of a clean sheet compared to maybe your Brentfords and your other teams, etc. So I like that. Son is a cheeky one. I like that. That could be explosive for you. I do like that. Salah, St. Maximin. Oh, I just love St. Maximin. He's so good.
Yeah.
Gray. I think maybe it's time to end your relationship with Gray. Maybe not this week because obviously, like you say, you've used your transfers.
Yeah. I can't move on.
It's tough. Sometimes it is tough to move on. I get that.
Yeah.
then we got who? So you got Sanchez on the bench in goal. That's pretty strong, right? And then you've got some players who I can't actually read, so I'll just enlarge my screen a little bit. Benteke.
I'll tell you, I've got
Mina
Benteke,
and Alonso,
Mina,
right?
and Alonso. Yeah. Alonso may be done next week.
Oh, dude, I'm so close to bringing him in. I nearly did it then. I just can't bring myself to pick Azpilicueta. Just boring, so boring.
Chilwell's going to play this week.
Do you reckon? Okay. Yeah. Jack, NFL. Guys, Jack, if you didn't know, is like so into his NFL. He knows so much about it. I know absolutely zero. Go and follow him over on Twitter at JackHumphreyKM. There's so much content on all the platforms. He's going to talk to you a little bit about his NFL monster team now, while I go and spend 5 minutes trying to decide my transfer dilemma. Jack, what you got for us, bro?
So I built a monster team this week, as I've mentioned before to you. I like to stack, and I've gone with the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers this week, which is Sam Darnold. He's been an absolute tear up this season, just a huge amount of air yards, and I've stacked him with his wide receiver this week, DJ Moore. The Dallas Cowboys are ranked 29th against opposing wide receivers on the season already. There's only 32 NFL teams, so that's really bad. So I'm expecting DJ Moore to go off in this game, and that's why I've gone for the stack there. Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins at wide receiver I like this week. He actually leads all wide receivers in air yards on the season. The only thing is with him at the minute, he's just not converting into touchdowns. Hopefully that can change going forward. Odell Beckham has just come back from an injury. This is his second game of the season. I mean, I'm sure even non-NFL fans have heard of Odell Beckham Jr. Well, just type him in. He used to play for my team, the New York Giants. So type in Odell Beckham one-handed catch, New York Giants. I think you'll be amazed, Rhys, what he does, and actually scored a touchdown off of it. So, please go and type that in and watch that.
Remind me after we go off here now. Send me a message so I'll check it out on my phone.
Definitely will. But the Browns are without a lot of wide receivers. I mean, they're sort of slot receiver guy, their safety valve in Jarvis Landry's out injured. So Odell Beckham's one of these receivers as well. You can move about all over the pitch, so he'll play everywhere. So he's in line to see a lot of targets against a weak Minnesota secondary, who are ranked 30th against opposing wide receivers on the season. TJ Hawkinson for the Detroit Lions, I've got him in at tight end. Detroit are a bad team, and if you look at their wide receiver core, it's terrible. It's like I'm trying to think of a really bad Premier League sort of front. Maybe Norwich. It's a sort of bad lineup like that. But TJ Hawkinson's their go-to there. He's just seeing an insane amount of targets this season. So I like that there. At the back, at running back, I've got David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. Chicago used their rookie quarterback last week. He had a bit of a rough day, to be fair to him. So if they're going to be better going forward, they need to rely on their run game a little bit better, and David Montgomery offers a safe floor for them there. Alvin Kamara plays my team, the New York Giants. The New York Giants are ranked 29th against opposing running backs on the season already. Alvin Kamara is the ultimate gadget running back player. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball. He's just brilliant. Jonathan Taylor, I love, plays Miami this week. Miami last week gave up 111 rushing yards to Peyton Barber. If you've never heard of Peyton Barber, then, well, I don't blame you. Even I had to go through some articles this week. He's been on about 6-7 different NFL teams in 7 years. So he's not a good running back, but he managed to put up 111 rushing yards last week against Miami and score a touchdown. So I love Jonathan Taylor, who leads the NFL in running back red zone attempts. Just hasn't converted, but we're going to see that change this week. And Washington, I've got an elite defense, and I've got them in against Atlanta, who are allowing the most sacks to their quarterback on the season. So I'm expecting big things from the Washington team going forward there.
Okay, so honestly, that is very impressive. Those stats. Just to let you know what I've been doing on my phone here, I haven't been ignoring you. I've been trying to listen to you whilst doing my moves. I've done official FPL. I've just done Trent to Azpilicueta, and I'm trying to do my Fanteam one. Oh, sugar. I want Matty Cash. Okay, Matty Cash, Fanteam. Update team. Tick. 20 seconds to go. I'm trying to get him in my starting lineup. Cash for Alan. Come on. How do I make the moves? So stressful. Less than a minute to go. Get Cash in there for Alan. Swap substitutes. No, not swap substitute. Switch with substitute. Cash in. Confirm team. View message. No, I don't want to view message. Oh shit, I think it's over. I think it's over.
Oh no.
I've got Cash in, but he's on my bench. But hopefully he'll come in as an auto sub. Oh, that's a nightmare. Oh, sugar. Okay, that's a lesson learned. I should really get these done a little bit quicker. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was a nice bit of drama at the end there and not just watching some guy rambling. Give us a like on the video if you're impressed with Jack's NFL stats and knowledge there. Just reeling it off. Absolutely insane. Jack, what are you up to this week? Any articles coming out, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm going to have an article coming out later tonight, which is for the NFL Fanteam Weekly Monster. So check that out over on my website. Just follow me on Twitter. You can find @JackHumphreyKM. You can find all my work there. So yeah, that'll be dropping later today. And yeah, I'm hoping to win some money this week. As I told you before, I'm sitting in first in midweek at the end of the third quarter on Thursday Night Football. I was getting very excited. Dude,
I'm not surprised with all that knowledge you got there. Very, very impressive. Guys, thank you very much for watching. That is it from us today. Hopefully your deadlines have gone smoother than mine. We'll see you next week, same time.